It's opening night for the Leafs and the Habs. To speak about it, here's Martin Biron. Marty, the Leafs and Canadiens both made the playoffs last year and both made some pretty significant changes since then. Pick a team, the Leafs or the Habs. Which team do you feel could exceed expectations this year?
For me, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know they lost a big piece in Mitch Marner, but it's not about the offense. The Toronto Maple Leafs last year under Craig Berube showed me that they were going to be better defensively. They were second in the NHL in team save percentage. I get it. Stolars and Wall were really good, but the defensive aspect of the game was better, and that's how you become a better team in the National Hockey League. And in year two, it's even going to be better. I think Austin Matthews being healthy, that is going to be huge. I think you're going to see a big step forward again from Matthew Nyes and Willie Nylander. Look, he was really good last year, but there's even more that Willie Nylander can get to. The depth is better up front. I really like the addition of Dakota Joshua and Nick Waugh, and I think this is just going to round them up to be a better team. The core four, we're done with that. It didn't work. It didn't get to the playoffs the way they wanted to. But I think that right now, the pressure is off, and they're going to exceed expectations.
The pressure's off. I don't understand how you can say the pressure's off. The pressure's on now to prove that they didn't need the core four. Marty, the offense was 7th in the league last year, and that was with Mitch Marner and his 102 points in the lineup. Here's the question. If the Leafs are going to actually exceed expectations, do they have to commit, you hinted to this, to playing a more boring style of play in the regular season in order to get this job done?
It's not boring when it wins, right? When you win games, nobody calls it boring. Everybody loves a win. And here's the thing. Maybe it is a simpler type of game that they're going to play, but their skill level can still shine when you have the puck. You don't have to just think simple. You can still create. You can still get the speed, have fun in the offensive zone. And look, you talk about offense. I get it. They were 8th in goals against last year. I think that can even get better, right? They can be top 5 in goals against, right? A full year of Carlo, the depth up front, the penalty kill being even better than last year. I think this has all the makings of being a better team despite losing one big piece offensively.
But Marty, you're asking a lot of guys for a lot of buy-in. Austin Matthews is healthy. He wants to just pump up the offensive numbers that he missed out on last year because he wasn't healthy. Willie Nylander, you know he's all about offense. It's hard enough to try to get him to play any kind of D. John Tavares wants to prove that he can still score. All these guys have been driven for years, their entire careers so far, to be offensively driven. Can they really buy in to a Berube system, which was true? They won with the Blues, but it was boring. Do you really see them buying into this system?
I think that's the only way that you're going to be successful in your attempt to win a Stanley Cup. Look, the Washington Capitals were fun. They were crazy fun for years. Ovechkin and Backstrom, and there was Carlson on defense, and it was so much fun to watch them. But every year they hit a wall in the playoffs and nothing happened. And then Barry Trotz gets there, and it took him, it's time to get his systems in. And then all of a sudden they win. But nobody said the Washington Capitals were boring in winning the Stanley Cup. No, they were still a team that won and won the big trophy at the end. That to me is the ultimate goal. Win the game 2-1. Who cares? Fans are going to leave, the building and think we're the greatest. We're good. That's what the Leafs have to buy into. And I think it started last year, and it is going to continue this year with Craig Berube pushing even more for that style of game.
Speaking of buy-in last year, the young Habs seemed to buy in what Marty St. Louis was selling. What about the Habs this year? Will they meet, beat, or fall short of expectations this season?
Well, for me, I feel like they're going to fall short of expectations. And why? Because the expectation is that 91 points last year making the playoffs, they can take a step to 97, 98, 99 points, right? You acquire Noah Dobson. You have Ivan Demidov for now, a full year. You are going to have Nick Suzuki again with Caulfield and Slavkovsky. Lane Hudson is lights out. Like, he's going to be even better in the second year. But hold off a little bit. I still think there is some issues defensively. Last year, the Canadiens gave up 261 goals. Like most teams that made the playoffs were 235 and less. Defensively, they still give up too much. They still don't have a second line center. Who is that going to be? Is that Doc? Where is Liney going to fit? I think there's still too many question marks. Everything went to the good side last year. Marty's saying we pushed all the right buttons and it worked. What if he only pushes the buttons and it works 60% of the time this year? Like, they're going to take a step back. So I don't see them getting back to 92, 93, 94 points, which would be the expectation. I think it's more like high 80s, low 90s. You're hoping for a wild card spot again. So I think it's going to fall. It's going to fall right below expectations when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens.
All right, you've heard what Marty and I think. What do you think now? It's your opportunity now to jump into the comments and tell us what you think. Do the Habs fall short of what they did last year? And are the Leafs willing to buy in and play boring hockey to exceed expectations this year?